Okay, so this is our Class C subnet cheat sheet. So our increments are going to be on this line. Our CIDR or slash notation will be on this line. Our masks will be on this line. Number of available hosts will be on this line. Number of available networks will be on this line. Good cheat sheet to use. Alright, so we have this worksheet, and I'm going to kind of walk you through how to do 3 of the questions in a packet that we've got. So this first question gives us the network 192.168.1.0, and we need a minimum of 33 usable hosts, maximum of 64 usable hosts. So you can go ahead and just forget about the minimum. Doesn't matter. So just cross it out on your piece of paper. Don't even look at it. It's just there to kind of throw you off. What we're focusing on is the maximum hosts. So we need 64 hosts. So we're going to go over to our cheat sheet. Where in here says 64? Nowhere, right? This says 62. We can't use that. So we're going to have to go to the 126. So our subnet mask, again, is right here. And it is Class C. So it's going to be 255.255.255 because it's Class C. Points this mask right here. So 128. Or our slash notation, or our CIDR, is going to be 25. So we have that down. Now we need our network IDs, our usable hosts, and our broadcast IDs. So we're going to start off with 192.168.1.0. And then we're just going to fill out this whole section right here. It's going to help you in the long run if you just do it in this order. So since our slash notation is 25, we're in this column right here. So our increments are going to be 128. So we are going to add 128 to 0, which equals 128. I think everyone can agree on that part. And then we're going to add 128 to 128 to get our next network ID. So 128 plus 128 is 256. What's wrong with that network ID? There is no way that we can use 256 because it stops at 255. So these are our only 2 network IDs. Then we're going to go over here to our broadcast ID. So think of this as a real number line. So this network ID is 0. This network ID is 128. So this one has to stop at 127, if that makes sense. So our broadcast ID is going to be 127. It's going to be just one less than whatever this number is over here. Because again, think of it as a real number line. Alright, on to the next. This broadcast ID would be one less than whatever this one is, which was 255. 256, right? So it'd be 255, which we can use. Now we're going to do our usable hosts. So that is going to range between the 0 and the 127. So again, thinking about it as a number line, what can we use? What can we use in this number line? Can we use 0? No, because that's our network ID. But we can use 1. So what numbers are between 0 and 127? We know 1. So what's 1 less than 127? 126. So as you're thinking of it as a number line, a real number line, what numbers are between 0 and 127? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 126 are between 0 and 127. So let's try to figure out our usable host for this line. So what numbers are between 128 and 255? Excuse my formatting. So I can use 129. That's the first number that is going to be in between 128 and 255. What is our what is our last number we can use that is between 128 and 255? It's going to be 254. So we have all of our answers for this question. But now our next question is asking for usable networks instead of usable hosts. So that might throw you off. So we know our network is this, and we're looking for a minimum of 5 usable networks, maximum of 8 usable networks. Again, we can just throw away this whole line. It's just there to confuse you. We're just only looking at that maximum. So we need 8 usable networks. We're going to go over here to our cheat sheet, and we're going to look at our bottom line. These are our usable networks. Just like here, these are our usable hosts. These are our networks. So we need 8 usable networks. Where do we see the number 8 on this line right here? Right here, right? So we're going to have to use line D. So our subnet mask is going to be 255.255.224, right? Or our slash notation is going to be 27. All right, so let's find our network IDs. I'm going to start off with the one given to us. Always start off with 0. So how are we going to find our next network ID? We're going to look at our increments right here. We're doing increments of 32. So I'm just going to put 200 point. If that confuses anyone, I'm just starting from here. So I don't have to write these two numbers. So we're going to add 32 to 0, which is 32. Our next line, we're going to add 32 to 32, which is going to be 64. Then we're going to add 32 to 64, which is going to be 96. Then we're going to add 32 to 96, which is going to be 128. Then we're going to add 32 to 128, which is going to be 160. Now all this is asking for is just 6 networks, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm going to go ahead and add 32 again to see what my next network ID would be. That's because I'm going to kind of use this as a cheat sheet for my broadcast IDs, right? And you'll see why in a second. So our first broadcast ID, again thinking of it as a number line, is going to be 1 less than this network ID. So it's going to be 192.168.200. What is 1 less than 32? 31. Let's go ahead and do the broadcast ID for this one. Again, I'm just going to use this 200. So what's 1 less than 64? 63. What is 1 less than 96? 95. What is 1 less than 128? 127. What is 1 less than 160? 159. Here's where I'm going to cheat, and the reason I put this here. I don't want to think about all this math I have to do to find this one, which we are doing increments of 32. You can find it that way, but I don't want to do that. I just want to look at this number and be like, okay, what's 1 less than that? Well, 1 less than 192 is going to be 191. Go ahead and erase this because we don't need it anymore. All right, so then let's go to our usable hosts. And thinking of it as a number line, what is between 0 and 31? First number between 0 and 31 is 1. All right, and our last number between 0 and 31 would be 30. Or you can just be like, what's 1 more than 0? 1. What's 1 less than 31? 30. You can think of it that way too. All right, so what is 1 more than 32? 33. And what's 1 less than 63? 62. All right. And you go so on and so forth. What's 1 less than 64? Or, I'm sorry, what's 1 more than 64? 65. 1 less than 95. 94. So we have it all filled out, and our answers should be correct. Next problem, and our final problem, it's giving us a host, which if you reference this, it's going to be right here. So it's asking us, what network does this host belong to? It's giving us this. It's asking, what network does it belong to? So let's use this as an example. If I'm looking for the network that this address belongs to, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to look through these. I'm going to go, okay, 130. What number line does that fall into? Oh, it falls between 129 and 158. So it's going to belong to this network ID. Okay, so that's basically all we're doing here. So it gives us our subnet address, and that's how we're going to find our slash notation. So we have 192. Okay, let's go over to our mask. 192. So our slash notation, or our CIDR, is going to be 26. Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and list the networks. So our first network, we're going to start at 0. It's going to be 192.168.190.0. Okay? Now, if we look at our little cheat sheet, our slash notation is 26, so we're in row C, and our mask is 192. Okay, we're in C. So where am I going to find my increments? Right here. So we're going to do increments of 64. So I'm just going to add 64 to 0. Okay. Again, I'm just kind of using this last part right here, if that's confusing anyone. So now I'm going to add 64 to 64, which gives me 128. All right, we're going to add 64 to 128, which is 192. And then we're going to add 64 to 192. But we can't, because that equals 256. And that doesn't exist. Can't use it. Put some X's right here. All right. So it's asking us, where does this belong? Well, think of the number line again. Does it belong from 1 to 63? Because our usable hosts for this one this is our usable host range for this network. So does that 42 exist in this number line? It does. So this host belongs to this network. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, you can just comment